welcome you all to this important gathering on this important day. As all of you are well aware, today is a special day in the sense that the Federal Republic of Nigeria is celebrating its independence. We are happy to celebrate this day with us, and you are proud to be with us today. Let's hear you say, hooray! Louder, hooray! Hooray! Thank you so much. I can feel someone back there, a young man who is twisting his face and his mouth, something to say that, I beg, what are you talking about? As a young man, you have to be proud of this country, whether you like it or not. By force, by fire, you have to be proud of Nigeria. Nigeria is not your mate. 62? Hooray! Once again. By the way, my name is Dr. Habib Yakub. I'm the head of Information and University Relations of University of Abuja, the University for National Unity UFA of Nigeria. And I will be the master of ceremony this afternoon. On a special day like this, the Abuja Leadership Center, the Tetford Center of Excellence in Public Governance and Leadership, University of Abuja, has organized this gathering and assembled credible, brilliant, and resourceful personalities who will be here to discuss issues of leadership under the title Nigeria at 62, Finding Leadership Solutions. We do hope that at the end of this lecture, we will leave more fulfilled, loving this country more, and be able to find practicable solutions to our numerous problems. As part of this gathering, we shall also be inducting our students, who are here for various postgraduate programs in that center. Students, if you are here, let me see your hands up. Celebrate yourselves. How do you celebrate yourselves? Thank you so much. But before we start, may I have the singular honor to introduce to you our distinguished personalities and guests who are gathered here sitting on the high table this afternoon. I would like to start with our chief host, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Abuja, Professor Abdul Rashid Naala, who is ably represented here by an erudite scholar, an accomplished leader, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Administration of the University of Abuja, Professor Abubakar Sadiq Abba. A round of applause for him. We also have sitting very close to him, to his right, an elder statesman, a former head of Department of History and Diplomatic Studies of the University of Abuja, a former permanent secretary of the Federal Ministry of Transport. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Babu Bakendo. We have sitting to the left of our Deputy Vice Chancellor, who is representing the Vice. As you can see him sitting right there. He is a leadership consultant and coach with almost 30 years experience in that field. In any case, he is going to be one of our key speakers today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Linus Okole. I would also like to introduce a distinguished personality and diplomat who, as you are seeing here, he appears to come from somewhere, but I can tell he is fully Nigerian. We have adopted him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Excellency, the Ambassador of Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, Brahim Salem Boussaïr. And just as you were busy listening to the introduction, a statesman came in, an easy-going personality, but I can tell you, there's paid his due. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the former Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the Federation of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Chief Kanu Agabi.
Get into these.
Thank you so much. So we are still in the mood for introduction, and at this juncture I would like to introduce to you the chairman of this great occasion. In fact, he's so visible, I mean, you could
afternoon, all. Good afternoon, all. It's my singular honor to welcome you to this auspicious occasion of Nigeria's 62nd National Day, celebrating its independence. I'm sorry, I've breached the protocol, and I have to correct myself. My Vice Chancellor, Professor Abdul Rashid Naala, ably represented by our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Sadiq Abba. My Chairman, Alhaji Dr. Yayale Ahmed, the Chairman of Abuja Leadership Center. You are most welcome, sir. The representative of the Executive Secretary of Tet Fund, here present with us, Architect Sunday Ichuno. You are most welcome, sir. Our distinguished keynote speakers. I can see my daddy, Chief Kanu Agabi. You are most welcome, Daddy. Our daddy. And another of my daddy, Professor Babu Bakendo, who cultivated me. He supervised my PhD in the University of Abuja and made me a teacher. You are welcome, Daddy. And His Excellency, the Ambassador of Sahrawi Republic. I can also see our erudite leadership coach, Dr. Linus Okole. You're most welcome, sir. Your Excellencies, I can see the ambassadors of Cuba. You're welcome, and the representative of Ambassador of Venezuela. You're most welcome. And I think along the line, the MC will do the introduction. I'm delighted to have you join us for this inaugural Independence Lecture Series of the ALC and the induction of our pioneer members of the Abuja Leadership Center of the University of Abuja. It is indeed an honor to be saddled with this important responsibility, and I do not take for granted the trust and confidence of the Governing Council and management of the University of Abuja under the visionary leadership of Vice Chancellor Professor Abdul Rashid Naala. I'm equally grateful to the ALC board led by Alhaji Dr. Yayale Ahmed for its immense support and encouragement, which had enabled the center to achieve record results in such a short time under my watch. Thank you once again for the confidence. On assumption as the director of ALC in June 2022, our main task was to reposition the center for basic readiness as prescribed by TED Fund and submit a baseline report of same. The readiness report was the primary prerequisite for the immediate takeoff of academic and other programs of the center. Consequently, having successfully submitted the report, we developed our first curriculum and got executive approval from the Vice Chancellor on the 9th of August 2022. Armed with the curriculum, the center started its MA and doctorate degree programs in public governance and leadership, which currently have 90 students who have enrolled, with 28 for masters and 62 for doctorate. This first batch of students commenced lectures on the 27th of August 2022. The need to deepen the scope of our operations to meet the critical demand in our knowledge system prompted the inclusion of other crucial strands of public governance. Saddled with the status, Abuja is saddled with the status of a federal capital and playing host to the diplomatic community and the security forces placed on our center the onerous demand to stretch our scope. In response to this scenario, we mounted two important courses in Abuja, namely Masters and PhD in Policy and Strategic Studies and Masters and PhD degree in Military Studies. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, I'm delighted to announce the commencement of admission process for these two programs due to popular demand, with the hope that the first batch of students will commence lectures latest January 2023. In addition to satisfying the growing public interest in our university, these courses will in no small measure work to deepen the research interest and knowledge in public governance, as well as build capacity in critical areas of government. Today also marks the inaugural induction of members of the Abuja Leadership Center, as the contribution of the center to building institutional and generational leadership capacity through a tribe of well-trained and distinguished leaders. I congratulate you all in advance of your induction. When the pharaohs built pyramids, not even the Egyptians saw the need for stone towers. But thousands of years later, their mathematical exactitude still rattles modern science. Below the Nile, the Nubian kings were also building their pyramids, relics of which are saddled across the Sudan area. Almost at the same time, this was the kings of Old Mali Empire were assembled, the best brains at Timbuktu, to set up what will later become the first university in human history. All this can be attributed to leadership. Nigeria, as has been noted by many scholars, is a nation of huge potential. However, in order for this potential to be transformed to beneficial tangibles, leadership is the key. Therefore, if Nigeria desires to take its rightful place, because we must agree this now, it is not its rightful place among the Committee of Nations, it must commit full throttle to finding leadership solutions in all spheres. I'm much delighted to welcome our distinguished keynote speakers, eminently sterling leaders in their right, who will lead the way in this quest. As Nigeria celebrates our 62nd independence, I join our government and fellow compatriots in celebrating this epoch, and hopefully many more to come. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You are most welcome to this occasion. Thank you.
A round of applause once again for the director of the center. Thank you so much, Prof, for that brief, instructive address. Before I call on the Vice Chancellor to make his address, I would like to properly introduce some of our distinguished personalities who are here seated. On that note, I would like to welcome the Registrar and Secretary, the Council of the University of Abuja, Malam Yahya I. Muhammad. We also have here the Bursar of the University, Malam Ahmed Rufai Baba. The Dean of the School of Postgraduate, the University, Professor Ukato Gabriel Moti, is also here. A round of applause for him. We have the Dean of Social Science, Professor Gudna Obida Wafue. Quickly, I would like to welcome Haji Bashir Utuku, the former Executive Director of First Bank PLC. We also have here Mr. Usendia, who is Assistant Controller General of Nigerian Correctional Service. The head of the Department of History and Diplomatic Studies of the University, Professor Sani Uma, is also here. A round of applause for him. And we have the Ambassador of Cuba to Nigeria, Clara Pulido. And also the Deputy High Commissioner, the Indian High Commission, VSDL Surendra. Thank you all for coming. On this note, I would like to invite the Vice Chancellor of the University of Abuja, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Administration, Professor Abubakar Sadiq Abba, for his address. A round of applause for him, please.
First and foremost, I want to congratulate all Nigerians for this auspicious day of our National Independence Day, 1st October. I pray and hope and wish Allah in His own mercy will bless this country with good leadership and with political stability and good citizenship. I want to skip all the protocols because of time. I singularly and honorably recognize all the men on the high table as well as those on the other side of the table. First and foremost, I want to congratulate Professor Afaha for a job well done. Abuja Leadership Center has come a long way. We ran from pillar to post to get a quintessential Nigerian in the person of Yahya Mahmoud Ahmad to be the chairman of this particular, the board of this center, and all other, as they call it, history now. So this is a success story. Mr. Yahya Amesa, we are most grateful. We thank you for your sacrifices. We thank you for your endless support and contribution and solidarity to the establishment of this particular center and in nurturing this center to where it is today. Thank you very much. We also want to solidly establish our appreciations to the TED Fund for being the mother that hatched this particular center. It's not only an ordinary leadership center in Nigeria, it is a center that is being fully and absolutely backed and supported and funded by TED Fund. Thank you very much, sir. You can extend our gratitude to the years. Now on the issue of leadership. We have said it all. There is nothing wrong with Nigeria apart from leadership. And the focal point of this particular center is on leadership. So it is our hope on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of this great university, U of A of Nigeria, on behalf of all the staff and students of this university, our prayer is this: one day in this country, we are going to hoist our flag as Abuja Leadership Center and march shoulder to shoulder with leadership centers all over the world, most especially the Kennedy Leadership Schools in Harvard. We are going to push and push and push until one day the members, the first set of this school, of this leadership center, are going to become our ambassadors globally. And you are going to bring laurels upon laurels so that at least we are going to ride Abuja Leadership Center on the blue skies. On behalf of Professor Abdurrashid Nahalla, on behalf of the University Governing Council and Management, and on behalf of staff of the university, you are all welcome to this very, very important occasion. And I wish to register Professor Nahalla's apology for him not being able to be here physically. But I can assure you, he remains committed to this particular center. And I believe the first set of participants in this center is a testimony that the future is very bright for this center. Thank you very much, and may Allah bless us all.
I want a stronger round of applause for our chief.
Thank you so much. On this note, I would like to invite the chairman of Abuja Leadership Center, Alhaji Dr. Yayale Ahmed, to the podium for his remarks. A round of applause for him, please. Yes.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. The Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, the guest lecturer, Your Excellencies, members of diplomatic corps, my colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me start with a correction. Although I have been awarded so many honorary doctorate degrees, I do not address myself as doctor. So correct it. Although I have been to Saudi Arabia for Hajj uncountable times, I do not address myself as Al-Haji. So please, just put my name as it is. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you this afternoon, share this very important occasion, being the first of its kind in this part of the world, that is Abuja University, through the assistance of TED Fund, establishing Leadership Center, which will be of excellence. I'm encouraged to be part of this event about 3 reasons. One, my life has always been in governance, and I cherish good governance. Secondly, I have 2 friends who would deliver lectures that you would have never heard of the type of delivery and the eloquence that would come from them. The first one being my senior brother, Kanu Agabi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, former Attorney General of the Federation, whom I had the privilege to work with when I was head of service. We served in the same cabinet of President Obasanjo. Dr. Okole, I was just asking him if he has forgotten me to tweet some of his very interesting reminders. And of course, 2 other people who are not going to speak to you today have been my colleagues. Professor Bakendo, a very senior brother, and Ambassador Keshi, one of the most vibrant permanent secretaries that I have worked with, either as head of service or SSGF. Besides that, I also participated fully in the transition between the past Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Isa Mohammed of blessed memory, and who took over from him, finally, Professor Gambal Lahi. In between them, there was something which happened. We had to get an acting Vice Chancellor in the name of Professor A.T. Abdullahi. These are all to give you an indication that I am part and parcel of Abuja University, and I will never be tired of contributing my quota. With the TED Fund, I would also like to remind the secretary, executive secretary, that it was during my humble service as Federal Permanent Secretary Education that I put live to the decree establishing ETF, and it took off during my time. Be that as it may, I would like to emphasize 3 issues. That in Nigeria today, we need excellent leadership. But the starting point is, of course, to love Nigeria itself. What is happening is that there is lack of patriotism, commitment to the nation, and submission to the will of the people who are yearning for development and progress. This center would only be successful and become an epitome of learning and legacy to be left when we imbibe, first of all, intellectual capacity of those who come through it. Academic qualification is important, but blend with character is much more important. Secondly, Nigerian leadership requires extremely hardworking people because we are left behind. You have to do extra job to catch up. Thirdly, I would like to emphasize the issue of integrity. Even if you are the most educated and academically qualified to handle an issue, and you are very, very hardworking to do certain things, if you have no integrity, it would come to naught. I would therefore appeal to the director of this center to make sure that all our students imbibe the issue of love for Nigeria, patriotism, commitment, and submission, all that is Nigerianness. I'd like to finally welcome and appreciate members of the Diplomatic Corps for finding the time, despite a very, very crowded day. This is our national day, to be here with us. With this, I hope that since I'm now the chairman, I will exercise my duty as I so wish. And since there is no National Assembly to check me, I would say that speakers speak. Both of them will speak one after the other. Take notes of the questions you want to ask each one of them, so that we do not have time to say that after Honorable Abi spoke, we will do questions and answers, it will take time. Then Dr. Okole will do his own. They will just submit their papers one at a time, then we take the questions thereafter. I have a very tight program, but I will endeavor to see that I stay beyond my earlier commitment to be with you, because I like to enjoy the beauty, the sweetness, and the wisdom that will come out of these papers. I thank you all.
A round of applause again. For this humble gentleman. He's not Alhaji, he's not doctor, so we simply call him Yayale Ahmed. A round of applause again. May I quickly take this opportunity to welcome the former permanent representative, permanent secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Joe Keshi. Okay. The representative of the Executive Secretary, Ted Phone, is also here. Please welcome Architect Uchendu I.M. Wogu. He's Director of the ES Office. And there's one powerful seat reserved. I would like to call the distinguished personality who is going to fill that seat. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Ambassador of Liberia and the Dean of ECOWAS, Ambassador Al-Hassan Conte. Please, we are inviting him to the high table. A round of applause for him as he walks there. You're welcome, sir. As he's preparing to sit, we're making progress and we are getting into the meat of this gathering, which is the address of two of our scholars who are here with us today. Chief Kanu Agabi is going to be discussing the challenges of leadership and governance, while Dr. Linus Okole will be talking about linking leadership to development. Another risk of repeating this because the chairman has already said this. Both of them will be speaking, and only after they have concluded will your questions come, very brief questions, and straight to the point. They will be speaking each for 25 minutes. On this note, I would like to call the first speaker. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I invite Chief Kanu Agabi San Sehen for his address. A round of applause for him. A stronger, more round of applause, please. More round of applause as you come in. It's not easy to write and present papers, especially the one that will have the kind of substance that we expect from him. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for the privilege of addressing you on the subject of the challenges of leadership and governance in our country, as we celebrate the 62nd anniversary of our independence from British rule. It has been midnight in our country. For 62 years, we have been caught in a long midnight. No one is safe. The nation is divided. Corruption is rife. Our laws are foreign. The education that we offer our youth does not equip them for life. New distresses and disasters are daily befalling us on every side. Virtually all the structures for accountability erected by law have been knocked down and destroyed, and the leadership seems not to be accountable. Against that background, I have heard some people say that we were better off under British rule. I do not agree. We're a new nation. We are experimenting with systems of government and laws that have been in operation in other nations for hundreds of years. We are trying to do things by ourselves. In doing so, we have often to rely on people who are not qualified and who have no experience. Otherwise, we're good people. We're a hardworking and talented nation. We're a patient people. We are very resilient. We're a God-fearing nation. And that is why the nation continues to survive. There is no doubt that the tenets of our country require change. The tenets of our country require radical change. And it is our responsibility to effect that change. Very often we are driven to despair. People say things out of despair. And that is very often because They are not able to look back. As a nation, we have done very well. Please. We emerged from dictatorship in 1999. And if you look at the nations that emerged from dictatorship about the same time and compare their situation with ours, you will come to the conclusion that we have done very well. And I can give you a few examples. Yugoslavia, it broke up after dictatorship. Yugoslavia was under a dictatorship, broke up. Czechoslovakia broke up. The Soviet Union broke up. Iran, after the Shah, fell into crisis. Nicaragua, after Somoza, fell into war. If you come to Africa, Zaire, after Mobutu, Liberia, after Samuel Doe, Rwanda, Burundi, Sierra Leone, they fell into crisis after the dictatorships in those nations, except Nigeria. We did not fall into any kind of crisis whatsoever. We have remained together. Of course, we have skirmishes here and there, which is natural. So we must proceed with hope. We ought not to despair. You hear voices of despair here and there. The nation is better off as it is. From east to west, from north to south. There is never going to be a time in the history of this country or of any nation when they will not have problems. Nations always have problems. So my first suggestion is that we should not despair. As I said before, we're a nation of good people. We are not that nation out of which the Lord could not find 10 good people, Sodom and Gomorrah. We have millions of good people. Please. As has been said already here, let me say a word about the present state of the nation. Corruption has permeated every department of the nation, that is true. All we like sheep have gone astray. We are all guilty. All guilty. Corruption resides in the driver, in the mechanic, in the cook, in the minister, in the legislator. Corruption after dictatorship in this country permeated every department of our national life. And we are all guilty. And until we realize that we have each and every one of us to repent and to return, the nation is going nowhere. A democracy is characterized by our misconception of politics as a game without rules, and that is true. We are under the illusion that in politics somehow good can come out of evil. We say the end justifies the means. We proceed on the false assumption that politics without force or without fraud cannot produce results. We aim at being strong in numbers without being strong in spirit and in truth. We labor under the illusion that in politics, good and bad are equal. That we can fight falsehood with falsehood or vice with vice. That is the spirit which is at work in our country now. We live in an age where nothing is predictable. We blame it on the economy. We blame it on our politics. We blame it on the social system. Some blame it on the judiciary. It is we who have failed. No economic theories, no political theories, no legal theories are going to save the nation until we repent and admit that we are all implicated in the downfall of the nation. We must, like the prodigal son, arise and return to our Father. How did it start? How did all this come about? How did a nation of geniuses, because that's what we are. We are a nation of geniuses. But how did we come to be branded as one of the most corrupt nations in the world? And we are still carrying that brand. Please. This is how it started. It started in 1966 when those who held office were brutally assassinated and office taken from them. That is an abomination. It is. We have never recovered from it. Please. That's how it started. It led to war. As a result of that war, or during that war, states were created. We went from 4 regions to 12 states, to 18 states, now to 36. We have 774 local government councils and area councils. Each time we multiplied our manpower needs, we met the needs that arose by appointing to high offices persons who were not qualified or who are not qualified. That is where the problem of Nigeria started. To say that these people are not qualified or do not have the requisite experience is not to insult them. It is true. With the creation of states, the boundaries of the states became rigid. And you couldn't gain employment in states other than yours, no matter how qualified you were or are. Whereas an unqualified person is eligible to hold office in his own state by virtue merely of the fact that he is an indigene of that state. And if we are going to solve the problem of efficiency of corruption in our country, we must break down boundaries. We must eliminate boundaries. Eliminating boundaries doesn't mean that you have to merge Cross River with Akwa Ibom or something like that. It simply means that Nigerians must be able to find employment in states other than their own. If we do that, why not? I would like to be the Attorney General of Zamfara. I would like to hold office in that state. And I would appreciate it if, as in the days of the military, the governor of my state, Cross River, was from Katsina. That is how it ought to be. We must come back to that. If we are one nation. That's how we started. By the abomination of killing those who held office and taking, and after that, we went on changing government by one coup after another. We set a bad example for the nation. The people who experienced that are very much around. We have a culture of dictatorship. Then, we have no regard for the Constitution. We stigmatize the Constitution as the product of the military and we reject it on that ground. You can't do that. We have a Constitution. And if we proceed on the basis that we don't have a Constitution, then there will be anarchy. We have a Constitution. We may not like it. It may not be a good Constitution. But it is our responsibility to amend it. And that is why the Constitution provides that, look, you can amend it. You can revise it and overhaul it to suit the needs of the nation. But you cannot reject it on the ground that it is the product of the military. The states were created by the military. The local governments were created by the military. The National Assembly was set up by the military. The presidency, all the offices that are in operation in our country today were established by the military. If you say you reject the Constitution as the product of the military, it simply means that we have anarchy on our hands. It's like somebody who has a broken down vehicle. You repair it, you manage it until you get to your destination, and you can then replace it if you like, or repair it even more. So we have a constitution. Some people go beyond that and argue that we don't even have a nation, that the nation is an artificial creation, that it was created by the British to suit their administrative needs, that we are not one people. We are one people. The story of the creation, and I believe the story of the creation by the Almighty God of one man, one woman, one world without boundaries. And the Lord giving dominion to that one man. That one man is a Hausa man. That one man is a Fulani. That one man is an Igbo man. He's a Yoruba. He's an American. He's a Briton. One man. That's what God created. He created one man. That one man is yourself. That one man is myself. He gave dominion over the entire world to that one man. And that is the dominion that we have. The dominion from east to west, from north to south. And we should stop thinking that, look, I'm a Fulani, or I'm a Hausa, or I'm a Yoruba, or I'm an Igbo. No. You're a child of God. And you ought not to attack anybody simply because he is of another tribe, or simply because he is of another religion, or simply because you don't agree with him or with her. We are one people, and we must be resigned to that. It is on account of that that somebody like myself, whom you don't even know, you don't know where I come from, but I can stand here and speak to you. Why? Because we are one people. The nation is not self-reliant. We are enjoying the products of other nations. We are refusing to make the sacrifices that other nations have made to produce the luxuries that we are enjoying. As long as we do not shut our borders and begin to do by ourselves the things that we need to do, achieve for ourselves the things that we need, we need to shut our borders. We need to use our own hands. Please, as long as we don't do that, the value of the naira will continue to collapse. And then, of course, look at the education that we offer to our young. The education that we offer to our young does not equip them for life. It is theoretical. It makes them proud and distant. It does not teach them respect, either self-respect or respect for others. Our ancestors, they didn't have universities. They didn't have a police force such as we have. They didn't have a judiciary such as we have. They didn't have an army as we have. But they had peace. They were self-reliant. They loved one another. I have an Igbo name. My name is Kano. It is an Igbo name. But I'm not an Igbo person. That's how our forefathers were. They believed in one another. Yorubas bore Hausa names. Hausas bore Yoruba names. We lived in the midst of one another, and we must go back to that. Do you agree? Yeah. Thank you. Then our law enforcement agencies. These agencies, we criticize them, we condemn them, we abuse them, we don't encourage them. We forget that these institutions are founded on the premise that crime will be limited. But crime has become unlimited. The police cannot cope. The judiciary cannot cope. We must control ourselves. If we don't control ourselves and think that the police can cope, nevertheless, they can't. We cannot have the police to man every home. We can't do that. Of course, I have already spoken about our divisions, the failure of the government to exercise strong political will. We are operating a presidential system. A presidential system of government is that system that the government elects when it wants to vest all power in one person. It is a dictatorship under the Constitution. That is what the presidential system is, because all executive power is vested in one man. The president does not share his power with anybody. But why have we elected that system? We elected that system because that is the system that a nation adopts when it wants the president to use all that mighty power to bind the nation together. That is the system that a nation adopts when there are divisive tendencies in that nation, such as there are in this country. There are divisive tendencies. So we adopted the presidential system to vest the power in the president so that he can use that power to bind the nation together. That power must be exercised. The president must exercise the power vested in him by the Constitution to bind the nation together. If he doesn't, it will disintegrate. Now, having said all that, what kind of leader do we need? What are the qualities that the leader should have? What kind of leader does the nation need at this time? What kind of leader do we need in these times of fracture and fear? He must have a vision of where he is taking his people. He must have a mission. The leader must be driven by a passionate and inordinate drive to succeed. The leader must be driven by a desire to accomplish deeds that would gain the lasting respect of his fellow men. He must communicate with the people, and he must listen to them. He must be able to infuse a sense of purpose and meaning into the lives of those he leads. The leader must speak. Why do we remember Moses? It is not on account of the bridges he built or the houses he built. It is on account of what he said. Why do we remember the Prophet Muhammad? It is on account of what he said. We committed it into writing in the Quran. Why do we remember Jesus? It is what he said. And we committed it to writing in the Bible. Why does America honor Abraham Lincoln? It is on account of what he said. The leader must speak. Do you agree? Thank you. The leader must appreciate that he is elected or appointed to enlarge the lives and opportunities of others, not just his own or that of his family and friends. He must be able to mediate among the various factions that divide the nation. The leader must be able to put himself in the place of his people and identify with their feelings. He must be confident. He must be patient. He must be persistent. He must be hardworking. The leader must be merciful and not vindictive. Many of our leaders, they are looking for immortality. Are they not? They are looking for immortality. Our leaders are looking for immortality in wealth, in houses. I remember what Moses said to the Jews in the wilderness. He said, on no account should you return to slavery. Not the love of more wives or more houses or more horses should make you go back to Egypt. We are coming from colonial rule, but we have fallen into yet another form of colonial rule. Why? Because our leaders love more wives, more houses, more horses. Is that not true? It is in their search for immortality. Immortality is not to be found in material things. It is to be found in sacrifice. The sacrifice of self. One of the legends associated with the Bible is that, it's not even a legend out of the Bible. It is adapted from Wilfred Owen's adaptation of this parable of Abraham and Isaac. In Wilfred Owen's adaptation of that story, when God offers the ram to Abraham, he rejects it and proceeds to slay his son. And that's what's happening today. We are slaughtering our young people. We refuse to sacrifice our own pride. The sacrifice that is required is of our own pride. We must sacrifice our pride. If we are going to lead the nation well, the Bible says in the book of Habakkuk that the walls of our houses, the roof members, the things we own, are the witnesses against us on the day of judgment. Beware how you acquire things. These are the witnesses against you. The question was put by Jesus. He said, will you give your children stones when they ask for bread? Will you give them snakes when they ask for fish? Will you offer them scorpions? Many of us are very bold. And we are saying to Jesus, yes, I can give my children stones when they ask for bread. I can give them snakes when they ask for fish. That's how bold we are. And my appeal to the leadership today, and it is an appeal to you, to each and every one of us here gathered. It starts with the self. Doesn't matter what the other person is doing. Correct yourself. Thanks be to God.
Wow. I'm sure we all enjoyed that lecture. Quite pungent, interesting, exciting. And it was giving you points from very personal experience. I don't want to waste much of your time. I think what we need to do is to give him, again, a big ovation. Thank you so much. Well, without wasting much of your time, I would like to invite at this moment our next speaker. Well, he's already on his way. A round of applause for Dr. Linus Okole.
Is there anybody in this room that would like to make a difference? Can I hear you say aye? Everybody wants to make a difference. Everybody wants to count. But the truth of the matter is, it's not everybody who wants to make a difference that ends up making a difference. And so just look at the next person and say, do you know who I am? If you know who I am today, you buy me lunch on Monday. Please, can we please put our hands together again for Sakanu Agabi? That was spitting fire to everyone in this room. A couple of years ago, I had the honor and privilege of being part of a distinguished class at the Harvard University. In fact, specifically the School of Government of the Kennedy School of Government. And of leadership. The very best of leadership experts from all over the world, they gathered in that class to discuss the future trend of leadership development. And so I'm very, very observant, and I began to observe the quality of people in class and maybe get some data of some sort. Where are they coming from? I realized that out of 62 in class, 11 came from Australia. Some came from Canada, some came from Singapore, some came from Brazil, some came from India, some came from different parts of the world. But from the whole of Africa put together, we had only 2 from Africa. 1 from Morocco, 1 from Nigeria. So I began to ask, what's going on? But if you move to the next school of business, you will find in every 10 persons 4 Nigerians. Meanwhile, Africa is suffering from a deficit of leadership capital, and yet the solutions, the building of solutions, the research of leadership in Africa, the investment of leadership development in Africa is simply non-existent. And I am overjoyed of the critical mass that will hopefully transform this country because of the quality of leadership capital that you have acquired by choosing to take a course on leadership. Congratulations, those of you do your master's and PhD. I had the honor of hosting in Nigeria the first professor of leadership in his 70s, and was the chairman of United Nations Leadership Systems with over 80 books to his name. And so while he was at the Transcorp Hilton, in one of the rooms, he said to me, Linus, your country is to build good leaders and leaders for good. When he said that, I was so pleased, and he said to me that one of the reasons why I honored you to be in your country is to encourage your efforts for all these years helping to build leaders for Nigeria. By the way, I started at the age of 19 to push for leadership development. It's 27 years that I've been in sort of research and teaching of leadership. 27 years. And that was encouraging for me. And I said to you today that nations of the world that have built great infrastructure, made things happen, are nations that have simply invested hugely in the leadership capital of their citizens. nations of the world that had made great progress, there have been nations that have invested hugely in the leadership capital of their citizens. Because when you talk about leadership capital, you're talking about the economics of leadership. Which means when you get leadership right, progress can happen in a family. When the head of a family understands leadership dynamics, imbibes leadership capital skills and competencies, there will be progress in that family. When it is a business, when a leader in a business decides to say, you know what, I want to create a leadership model for myself. And that model could be transformational leadership model. It could be servant leadership model. In the 21st century, my focus today is going to be how do we acquire 21st century leadership capital for our personal and national transformation. Acquiring leadership capital, 21st century leadership capital for our personal and national transformation. And before I even go forward, let me just give you a simple definition of leadership that I want to derive my strength from today. It was the one that was given by my mentor, one of the biggest names in the world on leadership, but died in a plane crash with his family in the Bahamas, Dr. Miles Monroe. While I received him in Owerri, talking to 1,500 people, he said to me, in the front of everyone, he said, Linus, do you know that out of my 5,000 definitions of leadership, the best definition of leadership that I am leaving behind is, and I quote him, he said, leadership is the ability to inspire, motivate, drive others to a particular